You want to know when your community is on the edge, when it's reached the tipping point? HKs, hunter-killers, patrolling the edges, the fringes, the dusty parts not yet paved. Utility trucks with the telescoping arms and baskets probing for country weakness, looking to stop and inspect. Water in a cracked wall, looking for a seam, a foothold. Line of sight, power lines and community organizations, schools and shops and waste removal, terracotta rooftops, if you're lucky, tar and shingle if you aren't, diesel-powered hunters waiting for the orders to stop and dig in.
Why do so many people who drink Mountain Dew litter? Because just outside the door of this van is a nice stone fire ring, and there is no one, as far as I can see in every direction. I don't see another human being. I can see structures on the horizon, but there's no one really where I'm at. But there must be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 cans, 8 cans of Mountain Dew, bottles, plastic bottles. What is it? I drank the Dew as a kid. I drank Orange Crush as a kid. I never littered. I drank that stuff, got jacked to the 10th, and just tormented my sister and my brother and my parents until I got grounded and got in trouble. Tomorrow I am taking the van in to get a new roof installed. There is nothing wrong with this roof. There is just a new version of the roof that they're going to install for me and redo the insulation, and also they're going to add lights. They're going to add 6 lights to the roof of the van. That's going to come in handy over the next 2.5 months. I have a pretty serious roadie planned. I am going against everything in my body, in my soul, in my knowledge base, in my history by going on a road trip in the summer. I swore I would never do that again. Hang on a minute. I'm doing two cameras, man. I can do 2 cameras. I have 2. I've got like 7 cameras. I might as well use more than 1. I swore I would never go on a road trip in the summer. And post-COVID road trips, it's going to be a million times worse. Just today alone, to get where I'm at right now, I went north out of Santa Fe for about 4 hours. Turned east a little bit to one of my favorite towns, hung out for a bit, took a quick dip in the river, got all my normal work stuff done. Have never seen the town that crowded. It's like people have come out of the horse racing gate and they are blazing a path at 100 miles an hour. But duty calls on this road trip that's coming up. It's a family thing that needs to be taken care of, and there's going to be some fun as well, and I am working the whole time. So I am not taking a vacation. I'm going to be only driving like 3 or 4 hours a day, then stopping, doing all the normal work that I have to do. I'm going to be making films. I'm going to be doing all my Blurb stuff and all the responsibilities. I would typically never do this in the summer. I would only go spring, fall, and winter. 1, because of crowds, and 2, because it is going to be so hot and so humid and so buggy. My wife is going to literally melt down. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. Okay, these leads are crap. I want the good leads. Think Glengarry, Glen Ross. I know that some of you out there want to actually sell the publications that you're making. You want to sell your books, you want to sell your magazines, you want to sell your zines, you want to do that, you want to put it out into the world, you want to get famous, you want to do shaving ads. I get it. That's not easy. Selling publications to people you don't know is not easy. It never has been. The publisher of one of the most significant photographers in American photographic history told me she can't sell 3,000 copies of his books. So that should tell you, don't feel bad if you put a publication out and it doesn't go gangbusters. In my opinion, selling 50 books, selling 100 copies of something, that's a big deal. If you think that you are going to survive on your book sales, that's called being misguided, because the odds of that happening are almost nil. In fact, I know people who sold their last photo books, sold upwards almost 100,000 copies, and those people are not living off the proceeds of their photo books. So just relax a minute. There's a whole separate issue here, a whole separate way that we can work on this, and you can actually sell things. Bugs are coming in, sun's coming out, dang it. I was hoping I'd get a reprieve. So, Blurb has a bookstore. Blurb has a bookstore. The reason I started using Blurb in 2006 was not the printing. It was not the paper. It was not the trim size. It was nothing. In fact, the company that I was using prior, which was in Asia, better printing, better paper, better binding, better covers, better everything, but very expensive, very slow, very limited. Blurb comes along, and I made a sample book. And my wife had gone to New York City to the Photo Plus Expo. It was the first year that Blurb had gone. I was not there. I came back. She came back and said, here's a flyer from a new book company. You should try them. I immediately turned around to my workstation and I built a test book, fired it off. What hooked me was the fact that Blurb had a bookstore on the back end. At that point in my bookmaking career, I was shipping and receiving. I was having to go to the post office multiple times a week in Los Angeles. And if you've ever done that, if you've ever been to the post office in LA, you will know that is not something that, it's not a long career decision. It's not going to work in the long run. You don't want to have to do that. So I was like, wow, this bookstore is actually kind of cool. I can design the book. I can put it in the bookstore. If a client wants it, they can go to the link and they can buy the book. Every single job I was doing was turning into a book. Whether it was a commercial shoot, a portrait shoot, a wedding shoot, once I figured out that clients were almost relieved to get a book from a shoot, I just started building it in and it became a secondary revenue stream for me in my photography business. What I should have done is invest in off. I should have bought stock in off and just doused my entire van, which is a little bit too late now. So a client comes over, I make her a book from the company in Japan or Asia. It wasn't Japan, it was somewhere else. And she comes over and picks up the book. I had made her multiple books like this in the past, so she knew what she was getting. And she comes over and she looks down and she sees the Blurb book, the sample book that I had made. And she goes, what's that? And I go, oh, it's nothing. It's this other company. You know, the printing's not as nice. The binding's not as nice. The paper's not as nice. But, you know, there's this bookstore on the end. And for certain clients, it's really great for me because then I can just send them a link and they can go buy it. And she looked at me and she goes, you know, she's holding the beautiful book I made for her and she's holding the Blurb sample. And she goes, you know, you can probably tell 10 things apart on these books. Like this one is supposed to be better in all these ways. She goes, I don't care. I want the bookstore. From now on, make me those because I can just send the link to the clients and they can go buy them. That is why I started using Blurb. I've never really spoken about the bookstore. If you want to sell, it is a built-in free platform that's already there at the backside of the program. A lot of people come to me and they're like driven by this idea that they have to be on Amazon. I got to get on Amazon. I got to put my book on Amazon. I got to get on Amazon. And I'm always like, why do you want to be on Amazon? And the overwhelming response is, I got to get discovered. And the truth is, if you have an audience of people already, Amazon can be a good place to put your book to drive the traffic. But if you don't have an audience, why not just use the Blurb bookstore? It's free. We don't take a percentage. We charge you for the printing. You keep 100% of the markup. And that way you're not having to submit into Amazon. You're not having to pay a fee. It's a lot simpler and easier. So I think this really applies, especially to those who are just starting out. Let's say that you're a zine maker and your goal is to sell 25, 50 copies of a zine. The Blurb bookstore is money. It's definitely money. Again, I've used it many, many times over the years. I don't use it much anymore only because I don't have time to shoot and I'm not making anything. I'm not producing anything that I feel like saying, hey, this is for public consumption. You should really look at this and really buy this. I have a couple of projects I think that would apply and fit in that space, but it's going to take me a long time to actually get to the point where those projects are done. And is that going to happen anytime soon? No, I'm really busy. I'm in my van with a bunch of Mountain Dew litter in the middle of nowhere trying to fight off a swarm so I can make YouTube films and make exactly $6 from each film. So I got my hands full, people. God, that breeze is really wonderful because now all those bugs are gone. The bugs are hiding in the van somewhere. They're waiting for me to close the doors and when I go to sleep and then they're going to pounce. That's just the way it is. Maybe that's why the Mountain Dew's out here. Maybe they just fled. They just ran and left everything because the bugs were so bad. It's possible. This is called foreshadowing because when we head out on this roadie, the bugs are going to be biblical. This is just a warm-up. This is just to get me used to doing the Australian salute. Like, come on, people. Maybe I'll get a bug net. Will that impact my microphone? I don't know. Anyway, the Blurb bookstore, I'm going to talk more about this. And again, if you're one of those people offended and you think this entire YouTube channel was my secret ploy to get you to use the Blurb platform, maybe you're right.